We've been journeying with Jesus to the cross. And what we've noticed along the way is that everything around Jesus has been caving under pressure, has been giving in to fear. And so we've noticed that Judas betrayed and Peter denied Jesus. Last week, we noticed how the religious crowds rejected Jesus. And today, in our passage, we see that this lack of courage and resolve now extends to the highest levels of leadership. And the people that you would count on to do the right thing, the senior pastors, the chief priests, the government leaders, sell out. And they give in to pressure. They cave. Pilate seems to know what is right in our text, and we even see in our passage, let's see if I can find it in the midst of the balloon shards. Here we are. I find no basis for a charge against Jesus. He has found Jesus to be innocent, and yet he caves to peer pressure. And so the people around Pilate basically say, we're going to tell on you. We're going to tell on you. If you let this man go, you are no friend of Caesar. Anyone who claims to be a king opposes Caesar. We see that peer pressure causes Pilate to act shamefully. And he puts self-preservation, saving his job, saving his reputation, his relationships, over and above doing what is right and just, and doing what will lead to the common good. The religious leaders also cave under pressure. They give in to fear. In verse 15, we see that the leaders of the church shockingly say, we have no king but Caesar. We have no king but Caesar. This is blasphemy. This is a total sellout. And there is deep irony in this passage because we are told that they are celebrating the Passover. And the purpose of Passover is to remember that we actually have no king but God. God is our deliverer. God is the one that freed us from Egypt, freed us from slavery. And yet here, the senior pastors claim, we have no king but Caesar. They sell out their allegiance to a temporary, corrupt Roman king. And I think this scene really connects with our story on a couple of levels. And on one level, it might invite us just to lament the way we have maybe been let down by some of our leaders. Perhaps we have been let down by people or institutions that we counted on to do the right thing. Perhaps we feel let down by weak government or religious leaders who have chosen self-preservation or personal gain over justice and truth and the common good. The story is not that old or ancient. It is our story. And maybe that hits close to home for some of us. Maybe we just feel let down and we're lamenting the decline of those people we counted on. That's one level in which we can read this passage. There's also another level. Perhaps we also ought to read ourselves into the story as Pilate or the chief priests. Maybe we have let ourselves down, that we have crumbled under pressure, that we've struggled to live into our convictions. Maybe we have made something else besides God the true King and Master of our life. I just wonder what some of the ways you might complete the sentence, we have no king but blank. I wonder how you might, if you're honest, fill in that sentence from time to time. I wonder if at times we say, I have no king but achievement, and I am mastered by the opinions of other people, and that's what gives me my identity, and that's what drives my life, and I'm working myself to the ground trying to prove that I'm enough, and I ebb and flow based on what people say and their opinion of me. I wonder if sometimes we say, I have no king but wealth, That's what I put my trust in. That's what directs my decisions. The bottom line trumps the common good. I wonder if at times we say, I have no king but a particular political leader or party. And we kind of buy in hook, line, and sinker to one political team. I think the litmus test for whether we've crossed that line into political idolatry is if we could never critique our own team. I wonder if sometimes we say, I have no king but my romantic partner. They are my salvation. That's where I find my identity and my worth. And we just put this crushing weight on a human being to fulfill us. I wonder if we say, I have no king but my job. That's where my identity is, and I'm just then crushed by workaholism and over-functioning, trying to prove that I'm good. Those are all these things I try to find a remedy to my fear and my insecurity, and they come up short, and they leave us empty, and they fail us. And what I want to say, friends, is that if we feel disillusioned, or if we feel let down by our leaders or by our own lives, we are actually in a really healthy place, a really important place. For if we are to make room for Jesus to be king in our hearts, we need to first dethrone some of the other kings and expose some of the false messiahs that have taken up residence in our hearts and minds. The great fairy tales often include moments of disenchantment. And these serve as important turning points for being freed from the wicked witch or the oppressive leader. I just finished reading the Chronicles of Narnia with my twins, and almost every story has this disenchantment moment, which serves as a turning point. It's actually an important part of the plot. In The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Edmund is initially enchanted by the wicked witch, lured in by the promise of Turkish delight and praise and prestige and all these false promises. But slowly, as he gets more entranced in her kingdom, he becomes disenchanted. And he sees the dark side of this person he has entrusted his life to. And that disenchantment moment becomes an important turning point moment where he realizes that he needs rescue. And that's when Aslan comes in and frees him from the spell through his sacrificial love. If we are feeling disillusioned, disenchanted, maybe this is actually an important turning point for us to look elsewhere for salvation, to look elsewhere for freedom from fear. What's significant about the lead up to the cross in the Gospels is that everyone except Jesus shows to be a false Messiah. Peter's willpower is not enough. The religious leader's power and piety is exposed as a fraud. The only one that is true, that is faithful, that is willing to put himself above self-preservation or personal gain is Jesus. And so this journey to the cross begins by just exposing the false gods so that we can then lift up our true Messiah. While human leaders choose self-preservation over the common good, Jesus courageously moves forward to the cross. And what we learn from this text is that Jesus is actually doing this willingly. Now, Pilate thinks he's in control. He thinks he has the ability to free or crucify Jesus, to which Jesus says, "You would have no power over me if it were not given to you from above." The writer of the Gospel of John goes to great lengths to show that Jesus is actually in control the whole time. Everybody else thinks they're in control, but he's the one choosing this voluntarily. He is not a victim. He is a courageous hero. We remember back in John 10, Jesus says, "No one takes my life from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to take it up again." The invitation I want to extend to you this Lent is to discover again the beauty of this King. This one who chooses sacrifice over self-preservation. This one who is willing to absorb and take on himself the consequences of sin, the effects of evil, the injustice of the world, so that we might be spared and so that we might be set free. We discover a true king who chooses to step into our pain, who chooses to disarm the power and the impact of sin by taking it upon himself. Let us allow this true king to dwell in our hearts. May we enthrone him again as our true master and Lord.